So what's your experience been of fundraising here in the UK?
Well, it's been very hard. It has been very hard. It's also been hard actually making the right decision, or knowing when to make the right decision, when to announce what you're doing, when to actually say, well, we've got something which is worth going to the market. And you just have to take that decision on board yourself and decide, is this the right time for us to go to market?
Hard in what sense? Hard in terms of finding the investors, hard in terms of, getting them to understand what you're doing, or hard in terms of just getting them to invest?
Well, you always hear as an entrepreneur, you always hear that there is money out there. There's always investors. There's always people who you can talk to. It always does seem that the grass is greener on the other side. So it always does seem like it's easier to get money if you're in the States, and particularly if you're in California. I think the reality is that if you've got a good project and people believe in your project and there's something of value in your project, then for the market you're in, the market will dictate whether you get the money or not. Some of it can be luck.
Sure.
Some of it can be from bank mum and dad.
Yeah.
Some of it can be from your friends and family, etc. But ultimately, if your project has got legs and you're able to prove it and do it in stages and prove it along the way, and I think one of the questions that you were sort of leading to was, how do you as an entrepreneur survive during this process? Well, you survive by having to have a job. You survive by having to get up very early in the morning and go to bed very late at night, because you're working on your project first thing in the morning, you're doing your day job, maybe sneaking a bit of work on your own project, and then coming back and then doing a bit more.
But isn't that then counter to what investors want? Fully committed?
Yeah, they want fully committed, of course they do, and it's understandable. There's always that question, and I raised it myself. Should a founder be allowed to ask for a salary? When should they be allowed to ask for a salary? It seems that there is arguments for both sides, either not in the beginning stages and yes at the later stages. And some are saying, well, actually, what's the point? If we're going to back this, we want your commitment 100%. If the individual has to raise money to pay the bills, to put a roof over their head, then there's got to be a compromise. And there can only be a compromise, because I can't pay those bills if I'm not working, and I can't also then say, well, I'm not going to pay those bills and I'm going to get myself into serious trouble, and I'm going to run my business. You can't. It's just a compromise.
I've just, on my right hand side, I've got Mike. Mike's an angel investor who's made several investments in startups in the UK and I'm sure elsewhere. Just wanted to get your viewpoint. You've been sitting there patiently. Just want to get your viewpoint in terms of, what do you think about the propositions that you're seeing in the UK? Are they good? Are they bad? Or are they just downright ugly?
I think a mixture of all three.
That's the easy way out. So.
I mean, one thing I would say is that there is such a massive deal flow. I was recently at a venture event and speaking to some of the VCs there who invest in early stage ventures, and they were saying that they're just not getting access to the quality of deals.
Quality. What do they mean by quality? What's the definition of quality? Is it a person with an idea? Is it a person who's done the idea, who's built the product, who's making $1 million a year in revenue?
Clearly, for the larger funds who invest more money, they want to mitigate their risk. And
guys like you. What about guys like you?
Guys like me are slightly different. So, as I'm an angel investor, I will invest my own money. Yeah. And to a certain extent, that makes me even more worried and more concerned about where my money's going. Yeah. But it also enables me to have more control over who I invest in.
Okay. So you'll invest at the pre-revenue stage, pre-traction stage, or pre-product stage?
That's all three, to be honest.
So you heard it here first. Call me if you refuse. So what are the kind of ideas that you like? Oh, let me put it the other way. What is it that you don't like about entrepreneurs?
That's a pretty tough question.
I know it is, but what is it when an entrepreneur comes to see you or calls you or emails you? What is it that you don't want them to do in that email? What is it that you don't want to hear from them on the phone, or when they walk in and do a presentation? What is it that you're not interested in listening to? Not idea-wise, but what comes out of their mouth?
I think what I've found anyway through working and investing alongside some of the actual funds and also some of the larger angel investors who will invest more money than I would in any given round, is that I'm slightly different. So I will speak to anyone.
Sure.
I will take meetings, and I'm more than happy to accept to accept pitches over LinkedIn, email, however you want to contact me, even over Twitter.
Okay.
But it's about screening that deal flow.
What's your Twitter ID?
I think it's at Mike FB.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Anyway, so carry on.
But the problem is, because there are so many entrepreneurs, and it is becoming so so low cost to start up a tech company.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who are going out there and who are pitching for maybe small amounts of money, but they haven't really got their ideas clear. So the biggest problem I think that entrepreneurs have is in terms of communicating their idea, communicating where they're at in the process, and particularly if you've never either fundraised or, on the flip side, invested before, it's very tough to know what guys like me would look for. So I think part of the issue, and this is part of what I'm helping Julian with, is in terms of communicating the idea and communicating the proposition
Sure.
to the investors.
Oh.